stirring in my heart and mind for a while, and we've put this into manifestation. This is going to be the first of a 4-part interfaith series on where we meet as one. So the theme on the 4th Sunday from now through August will be where we meet as one. We'll be inviting in interfaith speakers from around the community. And we're going to explore what connects us in this sacred oneness. We might call it God, we might call it Spirit, we might call it Source, we might call it Mother, Father, or some other name. This oneness, whatever name we give it, connects each of us to this both and, this human and divine experience. And so rather than focus solely on our differences, this is an opportunity to see where we meet as one. And yes, there are differences, and we do want to celebrate those, and we also want to celebrate our oneness. So this series invites us to consider where this spark of the divine brings us together. This little bit of God in each of us, where does that connect us? Our first speaker in this series has been a dear friend and mentor for quite some time. People may not realize it, but I was a part of the pagan community when I was a teenager and in my 20s. And one of the members of Serena's community actually married my husband and I, Don, Reverend Don. And it has been my honor to be a part of this community and seeing them grow, even though I've kind of went on my own kind of pathway now. But sometimes I still get to join them for full moons and events. So our first speaker is Serena D. Lachelet. Many of you may know her through our interfaith community, where she represented the Emerald Coast pagan community for many years. Now, this Sunday's message, Embracing Earth-Based, Earth-Centered Spirituality, Serena's going to invite us to consider our oneness with each other and with nature. She will explore neo-paganism from an interfaith perspective so that we can discover more of what connects us. Just to give you a little bit of information about Serena, she is an interfaith minister who holds the status of high priestess from 2 earth-based faith traditions, the Reformed Congregation of the Goddess International and the Fellowship of Isis. She has also studied Druidism, Native American spirituality, and Reiki. Before becoming an ordained minister, she worked in the public school system for over 30 years, 10 of them in administrative capacities. She holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education, a master's of education in elementary education with an emphasis on diagnostic and remedial reading. And she holds an education specialist degree in educational leadership with an emphasis on early childhood training programs. She has quite the background in both education on a public school sector, but also education on a spiritual level. So we open our hearts to see the Christ in others here today. Whatever name you give this spark of the divine presence, whatever name you call it, let us celebrate our oneness here today with each other and with nature. And without further ado, here is Serena D. Lachelet.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here among people that I know and love, and I'm glad that Melissa opened up that topic about knowing me for a long time, because I've watched her grow up, and she has been instrumental in helping me grow, also not grow up, but grow spiritually in many, many ways. I'm honored to be asked to be the person who talks this Sunday about embracing earth-based spirituality. Well, what is earth-based, earth-centered spirituality? In essence, earth-based spirituality is known as paganism. But what does paganism mean? Well, paganism involves honoring the ancient pre-Christian gods, the deities of our ancestors, and the spirits of our lands. And as I talk, you'll go, well, we do that. Well, we do that too. And you'll notice that there will be a lot of commonalities. Paganism is recognized as one of the fastest growing spiritual movements in the Western world today. Its teachings have been handed down through myth, saga, symbolism, and allegory over thousands of years. Earth-based spirituality, or sometimes called neo-paganism, was restructured about 70 plus years ago by Gerald Gardner, who started the modern Wiccan movement. And that's a misconception. Oftentimes when someone will say they're pagan, a person who doesn't know but knows about Wicca will say, oh, you're Wiccan. And that would be like you're saying, oh, I'm Christian, and people say, oh, you're Catholic. You know, Catholicism is to Wicca what Christianity is to paganism. Anyway, although the history of Earth-centered spirituality is not the focus here, some recommended resources, if you're interested in history, and I know that there are history buffs among us, some reading that I would recommend would include Margot Adler's Drawing Down the Moon. This book is about witches, druids, goddess worshippers, and other pagans in America today. She wrote it in the 1970s, and then she rewrote it about 25 years later, so try to get the new edition. Vivian Crowley wrote a book called Paganism. It's a general overview. And Charles Clifton wrote Witchcraft Today, Volume 1. It's a more detailed look. That assumes that he's written a Volume 2, but I have not read that. So what do pagans believe? Pagan spirituality is generally non-creedal and non-dogmatic, which means there can be even greater diversity among pagan beliefs than among Christian denominations. I don't need these glasses. Some of the most commonly practiced forms of paganism include Wicca, Asatru, Druidry, or simply paganism, just as Christianity includes Catholics, Protestants, or non-denominational Christians. All of these paths are somewhat different from one another. So the following statements may not apply to every pagan individual. Nonetheless, there are some practices commonly shared among earth-centered peoples. And if a practitioner's belief differs significantly, they will likely make that quite clear. My path to paganism was really an interesting one. I often say when people ask me that I came to paganism by way of a drum, because oftentimes when people think of paganism, they think of drums and drum circles. But looking back, I believe that my spiritual leanings were also shaped by my relationships with my two fathers. My biological father, who died when I was in the 5th grade, and the father who adopted me. Neither was an especially positive role model of behavior. So the idea of trusting in a father God without a balancing mother figure was difficult for me. So even before I understood what paganism was, I used to describe myself as a card-carrying, practicing non-Christian. One day, someone asked what I meant by that. And so after I explained my beliefs, they said, you sound like a pagan. Well, I didn't know what that was, but when I looked it up, that conversation led me down a long path of research and reflection, and in time, I had to agree. Many pagans celebrate a nature-based polytheistic religion. Polytheism, as we all know, is the belief in many gods, where the divine reveals itself through multiple deities across different cultures and times. Polytheists believe that no single deity can embody the entirety of the divine. Therefore, pagans generally do not, well, not generally, they just do not buy into the concept of God is omnipotent, omnipresent, all-knowing, all-seeing, always remains the same kind of ideals. Some pagans see divinity as expressed through both God and goddess. It's often emphasizing the goddess in a feminist light. This approach is known as dualism. In dualistic beliefs, the divine is represented as both male and female, acknowledging that divinity ultimately transcends gender. And when you think about it, what do we know about divinity? We know what we believe, But truthfully, it's really beyond our conception, our brains, our spirit. We come to a knowledge of divinity through our soul, not through our brain. So pagans who follow dualism may express the idea all gods are one god and all goddesses are one goddess, and the god and goddess combine to complete the deity. That's analogous to the two sides of one coin. Some pagans worship deities, while others honor them without worship. The divine feminine is valued as highly as the divine masculine. There's also a concept of Trinity, with the goddess manifesting as maiden, mother, and crone. The god, known by such names as the stag god, the green man, or the god of light, symbolizes fertility, rebirth, and renewal. One outcome of dualism is an assumption of gender equality. Pantheism is another common belief, where the divine exists in nature and within each person. And I could not help but thinking about that when we had our prayer this morning in circle. Because that's a common, I'm not saying that this church is pantheist, but that is a commonality in my way of thinking. In this view, the divine is everywhere, leading to a sense of interconnectedness among all things. Another commonality, I think. This often results in a concern for ecology and the environment, as well as a fascination with the cycles of life. Balance and harmony are central concepts in earth-centered spirituality. Practitioners strive to contribute positive energy and actions through honor and truth. Most earth-based magicians or practitioners believe in magic, often spelled magic with a K, to distinguish it from stage tricks. Magic with a K is seen as prayer in action, which can be as simple or elaborate as the practitioner wishes. Manifesting reality through prayer and magic is common, but it's not exclusive to paganism. This idea is discussed in works like The Secret, and parallels can be drawn with religious teachings such as, quote, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he be," which is a Jesus quote from the Christian Bible. Magic may involve belief in personal energy fields like the Chinese concept of qi, and often includes rituals and tools to focus positive thinking and visualization. It does not mean having supernatural powers to break the laws of nature as portrayed in movies. I oftentimes say, can you say fiction? Pagan children may pretend to have magical powers, but pagan parents do not teach the use of magic for harm or personal gain. In pagan ethics, negative actions are believed to return to the sender, a concept known as the rule of three. Ever mind the rule of three, 3 times what thee sins returns to thee. Reincarnation is a common but not universal belief among pagans. Earth-centered people celebrate life, seeing its purpose as learning and evolving. Actions in this life and possibly in previous lives affect our current experiences. Remembering past incarnations is not expected. Each life is seen as a unique opportunity. And I think maybe we wouldn't want to remember past lives, especially if we did something heinous or reprehensible. Well, what do pagans call themselves? Contemporary pagans may identify as Taoist, heathens, goddess worshippers, druids, Odinists, Asatru's, Wiccans, wisecrafters, or witches. Notice, not all pagans call themselves witches. A male pagan who calls himself a witch is not a warlock, as that word is thought to mean oath breaker in Scottish Gaelic. While witches may not take offense at stereotypes, they will clarify that green-skinned, warty-nosed caricature commonly seen at Halloween has no connection to their religion. What about ethics or rules of behavior? Pagan children are raised with an emphasis on both personal freedom and responsibility. Pagan ethics focuses on the interconnectedness of all things, teaching that every action affects others and carries consequences. This is often called karma. Now, this is not the Hindu version of karma, but an acronym. Know and accept your responsibility to mankind and all, K-A-R-M-A. In pagan ethics, there's no concept of forgiveness for sins. Therefore, there's no need for a savior or salvation or any of that. Instead, individuals must face the consequences of their actions and make amends for harm done. Sin is generally seen as missing the mark, which is a medieval definition of the word sin. There are no arbitrary rules about moral issues. Every action is measured by its potential to cause harm or to heal. For example, consensual adult sex is seen as morally neutral because it causes no harm, while cheating is wrong because it harms oneself, one's integrity, and others. The most common expression of these ethics are the Wiccan Rede, if it harm none, do as you will, and the threefold law, whatsoever you do returns to you threefold. When I worked as an administrator at Surfside Middle School, some colleagues learned that I followed a pagan path, and they asked thoughtful questions about my beliefs. One teacher asked whether I believed or followed the Ten Commandments. I explained that while they are a part of the broader culture in which we are all raised, because it's embedded in our culture, I do not follow it as a strict code. Another teacher asked how I make moral decisions without relying on a formal dogma or creed. I said that I trust my inner sense of right and wrong. In my view, that moral awareness is instinctive. I believe that we come forth into this existence knowing right from wrong. And I have a little story, a little aside I want to tell you about that. I have a granddaughter, a great-granddaughter, she's 13 now. But when she was 9 months old and she was at my house, and I have all these different little altars around, and there's little candles, little tea light candles, some other pretty little candles people have given me. And she was 9 months old in a diaper, but walking. And she took one of those candles and she had it down like this in the kitchen. And there's an island in my kitchen. And her dad said to her, because they were getting ready to go, what's in your hand? And she put it behind her and she went, nothing. And I knew immediately, and he did too, that she was hiding something because of the way she was acting. But more than that, I knew that at 9 months old, this child knew right from wrong, and she knew that she had taken something without asking. And so I said, whatever you have in your hand, Grace, it's okay. You can have it. You just need to ask for it first before you take it. So it was all resolved and everything, but that's just an example to me about the instinctiveness of how we come forth into this existence. Pagans regularly consider, what impact will my actions have on others? Will my actions hurt or harm or heal? And can I act, speak, or take without causing damage to other human beings, other species, or the planet itself? Well, what about religious plurality? Pagans embrace religious plurality, believing theirs is one path among many, not the only way to truth. Since pagans honor a diversity of deities across different pantheons, children are raised in an environment that discourages discrimination based on differences, such as race or gender. Individuality, self-discovery, and independent thought are encouraged. Children in earth-based spiritual homes are taught accountability for their actions, to be attuned to nature, to grow spiritually through respect for differences, and to nurture others with humor and compassion. Pagans are often taught comparative religions and are typically adamant about not forcing these beliefs on their children. Instead, they introduce many spiritual structures, allowing their children to decide for themselves when they come of age. While earth-centered individuals may know about concepts like heaven or hell or salvation, they are unlikely to interpret them literally, especially if those ideas conflict with scientific theory or claim to be the sole truth. Children are taught to respect sacred texts from other religions, but not to accept them literally, especially when they conflict with broader understanding. What about our spiritual practice? Well, the purpose of life, or this earth walk, as it's sometimes called, is to draw nearer to the divine force, by developing sacred time, sacred space and place, and sacred observances. Most pagans set aside time for daily or weekly devotionals, engaging in prayer or meditation. I try to meditate every day for at least 20 minutes. Now, some people see prayer and meditation as the same, but I understand them differently. To me, prayer is speaking to the divine, while meditation is listening. The saying, "Listen twice as much as you talk," reflects how I approach my relationship with deity. Prayer matters to me, but meditation matters even more, because I believe we are here to learn, and one of the best ways to learn is to listen. Considering sacred space and place, group rituals typically occur in a circle with the divine force perceived at the center. Once again, I thought of that this morning when we were having the prayer in the circle, and we were all connected, and you could feel a palpable energy source in the center of that circle. To me, that's the divine source. Each person is considered to possess a spark of the divine. Some pagans are called grove pagans, and they prefer outdoor ceremonies connecting with nature in forests, fields, gardens, or even stone circles. Others, temple pagans, may celebrate indoors. And as you get older, if you were a grove pagan, you sometimes become a temple pagan. Take it from me. Rituals are often held on full moons, that's known as esbats, and at the beginnings and midpoints of natural seasons, called sabbats or festivals, rather than on a fixed weekly basis, like a Sunday morning. These ceremonies are called rituals or circles, and groups may be known as covens, groves, hearths, societies, fellowships, or communities. Magic, with a K, can be a part of these rituals, with the circle serving as a container for the magical energy, which is raised, focused, and then sent out to fulfill its purpose. Some pagans are solitary, which just means that they practice alone. I started my practice out that way. Well, what about altars? Well, if you go to my house, there's at least 9 little altars everywhere, I guess. Common items found on a pagan altar include statues of the god and goddess, candles, crystals, wands, the athame, which is a symbolic blunt-edged dagger, cups, cauldrons, incense, and a pentagram or a pentacle. That's a 5-pointed star. I wear one. Altars also hold symbols of the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Some traditions, such as Taoism, include metal in there as an element. How do we celebrate the seasonal cycles? Well, in addition to the full moon rituals and the new moon circles, pagans typically celebrate 8 festivals or holidays throughout the year. This is known as the Wheel of the Year. Imbolc, now I'm going to actually start at the beginning of the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, but I will tell you later that not every pagan follows that calendar that way. Imbolc, which is on February the 1st, also known as Candlemas, often considered the promise of spring. Spring equinox, which is March the 21st, also sometimes called Ostara, celebrates the balance and the growth of living things. Beltane, which is May the 1st, sometimes known as May Day or Lady Day, celebrates fertility. And I went to Catholic schools as a child, and we had a Lady Day celebration with the maypole and the red and the white ribbons and the boys and the girls dancing around. I'm not sure that the Catholics realized that that was a pagan tradition and that it was symbolizing the fertility, the blood, and other portions of the human body. But anyway, it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Maybe I was a pagan back even when I was a child, who knows. Summer solstice is on June the 21st, around there, and it's also known as Litha. It celebrates the high point of summer. Lunasa, which is August the 1st, also known as Lammas or Loaf Mass, celebrates the first of 3 harvests. It's the grain harvest. And the fall equinox, which is September 21st, also called Mabon, another harvest festival, but it's also often considered the pagan Thanksgiving. And then there's Samhain, and if you see the word Samhain, it doesn't look like what I'm saying. It looks like Sam Hain. But Samhain, because that's the the Gaelic for you. They like to throw in different things in there and fool us. It's celebrated anywhere from October 31st through November 7th. October the 31st, of course, is Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, and All Souls Day is November the 1st, although actual Samhain is closer to November the 7th. And it's considered by many pagans to be the new year on the wheel of the year. Samhain also celebrates the third and the last harvest before winter. Many pagans start their calendar at this point, at this time. That's the beginning of the year for them. Winter solstice is on December 21st. It celebrates the Feast of Yule, which is the return of the light, because that's when days start getting longer. What about rites of passage? In addition to seasonal celebration, pagans observe various rites of passage, including welcoming ceremonies for newborns, such as they're called baby blessings, menarche rituals, or coming-of-age ceremonies for young people, usually teenagers, hand fastings and hand partings, which are sometimes confused with weddings and sometimes incorporated into traditional weddings, cronings and sagings, which honor women and men of a mature age, usually after 60, crossing over rituals, which are held when someone passes away, initiation rites for those choosing to enter the ministry, and rites for specific purposes such as healings and eco-magic to heal the planet, which we've really been working on that a lot these days. These rites of passage are integral to earth-based spiritual practice. In conclusion, although earth-centered religions are sometimes misunderstood, they have continued to grow and offer a meaningful spiritual path for many people. As our communities need to place greater value and emphasis on diversity and understanding, I believe that it becomes even more important to appreciate the perspectives that different traditions bring. My hope is that this presentation has helped build a clearer and more respectful understanding of earth-centered spirituality. And I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve you. If you have questions or comments, I look forward to discussing them with you after the service. May I move right into and I'm going to move into the meditation now. This is called A Pledge to Spirituality. It was written by Selena Fox of Circle Sanctuary in autumn of 1980 for pagans. And I adapted it this year for interfaith purposes, with her permission, of course. So I'd like you to relax, get comfortable, close your eyes or soften your gaze if you feel comfortable doing so, and listen. And if you wish, you may repeat these statements after me, silently or aloud. I am a spiritual person. I know that I am part of the whole of nature. I commit to channeling the energy of my inner nature for the benefit of both myself and others. That was a long one. May I deepen my understanding of the unity of nature. May I always walk in balance. May I always honor both the diversity and the unity of nature. May I remain respectful of those whose race, appearance, gender, sexual orientation, culture, and ways of life differ from my own. Whose race? May I use spiritual power wisely and never for aggression or harm. May I never seek to control or limit another person's free will. May I remember to help shape my reality and hold within me the power to create positivity in my life. May I always take responsibility for my actions, whether conscious or unconscious. Now, this next one's a long one, so if you just want to listen and get the gist of it in your head, that's okay. May I always act with honor by being honest with myself and others, keeping my word, and fulfilling my responsibilities and commitments to the best of my ability. May I always remember that what I send out returns to me with greater force. May the forces of nature quickly remind me of these commitments. Whenever I begin to stray, may I use that feedback to grow. May I become more attuned to my inner spiritual self. May I continue to grow in inner wisdom and understanding. May I always remember that the divine, in all its forms, dwells within me and is reflected through my inner self, my spirit. And so it is written, and so it shall be. Blessed be, and thank you.
So yes, for those who have questions, so Serena kind of explained this. So when I mentioned that my husband and I were married by somebody of the pagan community, it was a hand fasting within a legal wedding ceremony. So, but it was a very important thing. I don't know. There's something about the binding together with the cord that just, it reminds you of that kind of sacred thing in a way that words alone don't always express. So, and we've been happily married for 20 something years. 20. What's So, anyways, it has been my honor to be to watch others in this community grow and to just as the community's changed and adjusted and readjusted as things happen. And so thank you, Serena, for being part of it for such a long duration and being a mentor to the greater pagan community. There are many people I know who look up to you as a mentor on many levels. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now it is our time of gratitude and our time of generosity. So I'm going to invite you to get your gifts ready. If you feel that Spirit is moving you to give today, we want to honor that. You're welcome to prepare your gift now, or you can use our convenient QR code to donate to us online. If you are giving in other ways or already have that set up, you're free to hold the thought of your gift and what your generosity is always giving in your heart, minds, and we will say our offering blessing together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. And today we are going to have a wonderful song, Peace Like a River. to be our offertory song today.
Okay, so we don't have a instrumental backup. Oh, do you have your shaker? Yeah, we got that. Okay, that is an instrument.
We'll have
Okay.
their voices singing along.
Yeah, so we really need help on this one. So here we go. Ready? I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. In my soul, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. My soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain in my soul. I've got love like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain in my soul. Okay, one more. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. In my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. In my soul. Well, thank you all for singing along with us.